let's get started with this crazy story that broke yesterday, courtesy, by the way, of Sports Illustrated. Great reporting here. As a reporter, I got to tell you, this is a story that takes a long time to uncover. Notre Dame, their swim team. Why are we leading with the swim team on the show? I'm going to tell you why. Their men's swim team were running this pseudo gambling operation. Yes, this is true. The team essentially was investigated, and it was revealed that they had a gambling issue that violated NCAA rules. According to this report, allegedly, the staff were not aware that the students and student athletes had their own swimming sports book for the purpose of wagering on their own swimming performances. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, this is according to sources. Now, remember, a majority of the returning team is believed to have placed bets over underlines that were established for a swimmer's times in different races they participated in, with wagers being placed on the outcomes. Now, of course, there are no gambling companies in the United States that take wagers or produce betting lines on college swimming. So, needless to say, a story that has just broken yesterday that will have to follow the Notre Dame swim team in very serious jeopardy of not having a team at this point. All right, on the PGA Tour, let's get to the very latest on the St. Jude Leaderboard. A tournament will be following through the weekend. Right now, limited players playing in this, by the way, this week. A different kind of tournament, but some stars, as you see Hideki Matsuyama's playing. He's 6 under par. Denny McCarthy is 8 under as it stands right now, as they're well underway with day 2. Sam Burns is 8 under. Chris Kirk, who had a great start to his day yesterday. I believe Chris Kirk had a hole-in-one. 6 under par, has not teed off yet today. Victor Hovland also in the mix at 5 under. All right, college football playoff making an important announcement going into the season. It's going to be very hard to unpack all these new rules. We'll try to explain them to you as the season goes along, because you're going to think that maybe your favorite college football team is out of the playoff and they have a chance, and you'll think they're in and they're really out. But here's another rule that has been incorporated so you can understand it. The College Football Committee has decided that the conference champions, as one of its tiebreakers because of the new 12-team format, is out. So conference championship doesn't mean anything like it used to. It's just the guaranteed bids for the 5 highest-ranked conference winners. That is what's going into this new protocol. It was approved by the FBS and Notre Dame. Of course, they are independent. They decided for the 12-team format this fall, but they wanted to place the emphasis more on winning than a conference title. So naturally, this changes the landscape of college football. Just another footnote in the upcoming crazy college football season, which will preview the games with Bill Bender of Sporting News coming up in less than 10 minutes from now. Last night in NFL preseason action, did you catch any of it? Probably not. It's okay. The Eagles beat the Patriots 14-13 yesterday. Gerard Mayo, who won his first preseason game as the head coach of the Patriots against the Carolina Panthers. Boy, the Patriots did sort of fall flat. That 13-point outcome, sort of what we expected, although they didn't go crazy in the first game either. Strangely enough, head coach of the Patriots, Gerard Mayo, felt like he took this one on the chin a little bit for a regular season game. Post-game, sounded pretty depressed.
Look, obviously that one kind of stings. First loss as a head coach. And, just like last week, we talked about this game being very important, especially, after we practiced against this team, and I felt like the guys were ready to go. I just got to do a better job making sure that we focus on the details across the board. And I always believe in good fundamentals really outweighs the X's and O's. If you look at the game, the first half we tackled a lot better than we did the second half. It's just about it's those 3 or 4 plays that always bite you. And that's what I told the team. The problem is you just never know when those plays are going to show up. So back to the drawing board.
Yeah, as I would say, Gerard, it's okay. It's just the preseason in the NFL. You have a long way to go in the season. Anyway, the Atlanta Falcons, they just keep piling on players. They got Jude on the other day. They now have added Justin Simmons to the mix. They signed him to a new contract, so he joins a very talented defense for Atlanta, both offense and defense, by the way. Matt Milano, linebacker of the Buffalo Bills, he tore his bicep. He's going to be out indefinitely, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. And also an announcement made yesterday that Jim Harbaugh, who is trying to assist Colin Kaepernick somehow for getting back in the NFL, maybe not as a player, but as a coach. He announces yesterday that Kaepernick will not join the Chargers coaching staff going into the season. You may have seen clips recently from Kaepernick. Sounds like he still wants to play in the NFL, although it's been, feels like a decade or more. All right, the National Football League is going to debut on a Thursday night, but then the second game of the season, yes, is on a Friday night, and they're going to play in Brazil. So the NFL makes the announcement yesterday that these pop-up shops are in. You've heard about these, I'm sure, all over the country, but outside of the country as well. Brazil is going to have 6 stores put together by the NFL and Fanatics ahead of that. So if any of you are watching overseas and you're looking to buy some gear, you will have your opportunity there. Ohio State has named their starting quarterback. It is transfer Will Howard from Kansas State. Started 28 games for K-State, and the Wildcats won the 2022 Big 12 title. 48 touchdowns with Kansas State. Pretty good quarterback. Will get an opportunity to play again this year. By the way, high school football also getting underway. A lot of kids making their high school football debuts tonight and next week as well, as school is back underway. But unfortunately, a very difficult story to tell. In Rome, Georgia, a high school team had a car accident, and 11 kids were injured in the team and had to cancel their first game tonight. So want to wish the very best for those kids, and hopefully they can get back on the football field soon. All across the country, high school football returning this evening at the very least for scrimmages, and then everyone is playing next week, and then Labor Day weekend as well. All right, Christian Yelich, he will not be playing for the Milwaukee Brewers anytime soon. He's had this back issue that's plagued him throughout his career, and he's finally decided to do something serious about it, although it's going to cost him the rest of the season. He's having back surgery, the dreaded back surgery, which sometimes can keep you out for a few months, and sometimes you miss a full year. We've seen this before. Who knows with Yelich what will happen? But it sounded like in a video that he posted yesterday, just sick and tired of missing time with it. So we wish him the best, too. The Brewers beat the Dodgers 6-4. The Dodgers lead the NL West by just 2 games right now. What happened to the Dodgers winning 110 games and winning the division by 20? That's not happening. Phillies beat the Nationals 13-3. Weston Wilson is the first Phillies rookie to hit for a cycle. 13-3 the final. Wilson hit a ball into the gap. It was almost caught. Wouldn't have been a cycle, but ended up getting a double to complete it. The Athletics have approved their Las Vegas stadium, or at least it's getting close. As they said at a board meeting yesterday, they're rounding third, heading for home. So hopefully there is no block at the plate, as Las Vegas and the A's are a match. Indianapolis is the next destination of the 2025 All-Star game in the WNBA. So they go from the NBA to the WNBA, and with Caitlin Clark playing for the Indiana Fever, that does make some sense. The Liberty yesterday beat the Sparks. Get this, folks. They were, I believe, 11-point favorites. They win the game. First game out of the break, 103-68 in Los Angeles. Breanna Stewart, 27 points there yesterday. The Mercury, also a big favorite. They end up winning 85-65 in Chicago. And then the Minnesota Lynx defeated the very dismal Washington Mystics 79-68. Those were the 3 WNBA games that debuted back yesterday after the All-Star break ended. But coming up next, our college football slumber is almost officially over. The first games of the season, week 0, are 1 week from tomorrow. Bill Bender will be with us to preview the games next. Don't go away. Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. We've got another crazy sports betting story. This one, really is. By the way, I should say, great job investigating by Sports Illustrated to have this kind of detail revealed, albeit again allegations at this point before truth. I want to mention that, but let's bring in Matthew Waters to talk about this Notre Dame sportsbook for swimming stories. Now, Matt, I did this in the open and discussed it a little bit, just how crazy it seems that the swimming team at Notre Dame could concoct this idea to open up a sports book for their own swimmers, I'm guessing, for their own team, I'm guessing, and it also remains to be seen if anybody on the outside was really betting on this stuff too. I mean, the layers of this story, I think we've only scratched the surface on.
Yeah, Craig, like you said, great reporting. It was such an interesting read because we have had, obviously, gambling issues at the amateur, professional level, but this one is different, right? I mean, this is just, you could frame it a couple different ways. You could frame it the way that it's being framed, that it's a gambling violation and you can't be doing this. You can also frame it as, hey, there are a bunch of guys in the locker room having some fun, and maybe you could even say they were trying to motivate each other with the lines they were trying to set with the races, right? But yeah, still goes against those rules, doesn't it, Craig? And that's what the release from Notre Dame said. It said, we looked into this and it was deeper than we even thought it could be. And yeah, it goes against the rules and we're going to suspend them for at least a year. And It is good to see that teams are taking this kind of thing seriously. Obviously, we have seen what can happen when they don't. We've had in a couple of states some pretty big issues opening up where it seems like maybe if somebody was paying attention, it would have stopped a little earlier. But this is a really interesting one, and you wonder, well, if the Notre Dame men's swimming team had an internal pool, let's call it that way, an internal pool going with bets, who else might have that, right? Is this something that happens in every locker room? I mean, obviously there's a difference between, two buddies sitting in the dugout, comes up for him to hit the on deck circle and looking at him saying, $10, you won't smack it out, compared to actually setting betting lines and taking over unders and all that kind of stuff. Really wild story. Interested to see what more can come out of it. And like you said, the different way that the details fall on this, Craig, can lead us in a couple different directions. But what we do know right now is that the team will be suspended at least a year. And you have to figure that Notre Dame is going to be taking things a little more seriously on campus when it comes to watching out for gambling.
Yeah, I mean, you could bet on a lot of different things with swimming too. The amount of strokes you take, how long you're under the water for. I mean, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more revealed in the story in the future. We just found out about it yesterday. Okay, so a story that was out last week, we didn't talk about it a ton here on Newswire, is this company called Intralot. Now, Matt, I think we should catch people up with who this company is. They're being investigated right now. I know that they're based out of Washington, D.C., and they were prominent in the sports betting market there. So before I go any further, I'm going to turn this one over to you. Who is Intralot, and what are they under investigation for?
Yeah, well, Intralot, Craig, actually, they're a Greek company that is a lottery provider, and they also offer sports betting as well. So Intralot works with a lot of the U.S. lotteries, providing their draw-based games and their lottery systems and all that kind of stuff. Intralot was also the provider of sports betting in Washington, D.C., and that happened because a certain council member, pushed for there to be a no-bid contract in D.C., and he basically just said, look, let's give the deal to Intralot. They're already our lottery provider. If we don't get this up and running as fast as we can, we could lose, I believe he said something like $60 million over a little over 2 years, this council member Jack Evans did. And you know what, Craig? It turned out that Jack Evans was a little dirty, and he was in bed with people that were getting kickbacks from Intralot, and he was removed from the council. Now, Intralot just did a terrible job with DC sports betting and was kicked out. They now have a different way to do sports betting in DC, with the market being open to the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the Caesars, the MGMs. And now the Attorney General of the District of Columbia wants to look into these Intralot compacts and wants to look into what exactly was promised, what happened, and why it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. And basically, the way that this is going down is the Washington City paper says that they talk about false claim violations, which is basically what happens when contractors or companies say that they are owed money by the district for work that was not fully or completely or correctly performed. So the Attorney General, it seems like, is coming out and saying, look, you guys promised a whole heck of a lot for sports betting, and it didn't even come close to what it should have. We know Intralot and their Gambit DC platform missed their expected earnings year after year after year, and it was cut and cut and cut. So it's going to be really fun to see what happens with that. Intralot is still in the U.S. sports betting business. They're up in Montana. They have a book in Maryland. And their odds all across the country, from what we've seen, they've all been really highly juiced. And that was Intralot's plan, basically. They wanted to get the people that maybe weren't, great sports bettors or learned sports bettors. They just wanted people that wanted to get down, and so they weren't necessarily line shopping. And it didn't work out for Intralot. It got them kicked out of DC, and now it could be getting them sued.
Yeah, no, they want to see if Intralot can get through this or what kind of legal ramifications it has. All right, everyone familiar with FanDuel Sportsbook? Some people familiar with the fact that they're owned by a company. The parent company is Flutter. And Flutter, it looks like right now, Matthew, looking to expand to other companies, which they've already done already, by the way. But this latest one is Italy. What is the deal here?
Yeah, Flutter is the parent brand that owns FanDuel, and it's how FanDuel is different from DraftKings, right, Craig? DraftKings is DraftKings. They have what they do. They have, their online casino, their sports book. Flutter has all kinds of international business that has given them a backstop to push FanDuel further and not have to worry about making a profit as quickly, even though they have. Now they're looking at dropping up to $2 billion on buying
Ooh.
Snaitech, the leader of Italian sports betting. And it's kind of crazy, Craig, because, we had the conversations come up where maybe Flutter would be buying the interactive business of Penn if Penn wanted to sell after that shareholder letter came out. And there was all those, the rumors about maybe Penn selling to Boyd, and then maybe Flutter jumps in and buys that. Now they're looking at maybe spending $2 billion in Italy. And look, they didn't even say no, that they weren't looking into buying the interactive business of Penn Entertainment. They basically just said, some of the best deals are the ones we haven't done, but they didn't say yes or no. So Flutter is busy. We know that Flutter just wants to keep building and keep growing. And, on the other side of things, DraftKings has to be a little careful with what it does. It doesn't have the cash flow coming in. So Flutter's able to do things a little bit differently. And right now we're seeing just exactly what they can do. Adding Snaitech would be huge for their bottom line and would make them an even more attractive company for investors.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt, great stuff as always. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch up again next week. Thanks for coming on Newswire.
Thank you. Appreciate it.